Boom.
Hi, Mr. Jabba. This is Lynn with Real and Raw, and you are?
I'm Brian drinking a cup of coffee on Monday.
Hey. You know what's cute is the other day I saw Jerry with his wife, and he goes, "This is Jerry, and who are you?" And I thought, oh, how cute!
Everybody knows who Jerry is. He really doesn't need an introduction.
I know, right? Oh my gosh. How was your weekend, Brian?
I worked all weekend. Yesterday I took a few hours off, but it's just been, I'm working on a big music project, and I got a lot of work to do, and get my taxes done with the little extension that we had. I'm not usually really good with that because the whole deal with taxes and paying in and all that. It's I don't really. Anyhow, but I hand my stuff off to my accountant, and she takes it from there. But
awesome.
Back to Monday. Here we go. Let's do this.
Oh man. Happy Monday to Dennis, which Dennis is going to send us some care packages. He's so freaking awesome. He's so sweet. So thank you in advance, Dennis. And Scott Rickard.
What's up, Scott? Thanks for being here.
Nice for you to be here. Oh my gosh. Well, last week I opened my mouth and I said something about a book, and I'm giving myself this hard ass look at shit. I there's like no turning back that I'm gonna write a book, but it's just so much going on, peeps, and that's gonna be the topic of it, and that's gonna be the cover. I got the cover done, and I'm like, shit, I got a website for it, which I'll post later. I got all that stuff done, but I'm sitting here, and I got to speak to the editor. And, there was just, he said it's in the mail. It's in the mail. Oh, thank you, Dennis.
Thanks for being so generous.
Yes, we really appreciate that. You know what? I'm gonna call that. Dennis Camp is our first as a co-host show, our actual first presence from our audience. How freaking cool is that? That's gonna go down in history like that. Thank you, Dennis. And so, this whole writing this book and there's just so much to life and the memoirs and this and that. And now I got to find out the reasons of why. And it's funny how, as time goes by, things that happen in your life, there are some facts, in every story, but just how you look at them, and where you're at. And I called my dad Friday night to say, Dad, I'm writing a book. And he's 80 years old. And he goes, oh boy. So, there's just so much to say and not to say in writing. And so I'm, look, happy Monday. Speaking of Scott, he has a little show, and he plugged this in over there, and I have this little clip from his show, which I'm going to post here. So hold on.
Santino. Big shout out to Lynn. That's my friend out in Montana that I was telling you, and she's helping us set up. She's helping us set up like a whole new way for us to do our podcast, which is going to be so awesome. And
that's Lynn's doing that.
What's that? It's Lynn's doing that. Love you, babe. Thanks for helping us out. And she's got a great show I've been watching. Real and Raw with Lynn and Brian. They do it during the week, and it's really good. Real and raw. Yeah, I know. It sounds kind of like, but they keep it clean most of the time.
What does really
most
mean?
Most of the time.
That's good. That's awesome. I gotta watch that episode. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was just so funny. And yeah, we don't keep it clean come Friday, but
I like that little hesitancy, Scott, where it's like,
Scott's thinking, "Oh shit, do we even want to talk about this right now?"
and then I love the look that his co-host gave him.
I know. It's a 34-second made me laugh. I just love it. So, but anyways, thanks, Scott, for always being here and for being supportive, and always after a show, he's always saying, that was a good show. That was a good show. So thank you for that. But yeah, this whole writing the book, And I made a comment today, which I wanted to bring up too, and I'm going to have to look that up here in a minute. But our week this week, and it's funny because you picked the topic this week, which you do most of the time. I'll give you kudos and credit for. But this week,
we're only at Monday.
Right. But it says here the topic of putting out fires, upsets in your life, and acknowledging the fire upsets. And, I read this yesterday on the 20th anniversary of my house fire, where I lost everything and lost a 9-week-old puppy in the fire and stuff like that. But I was like, wow, is that like a sensitive subject here, or fires and things like that? But, this Friday will be very interesting because we have somebody that talks about chimney sweeping. Yeah. And that's one of my friends, Steve's fire and his fireplace. So I just thought, it's all appropriate. And of course, we talk about the wet wood and we talk about fires and all this stuff. So driftwood, wood, dirty wood. Yeah, that infected wood. We could pass on that one. But, it's one of those things where it really is true. Is, we put out fires in our lives. And, just yesterday I've been reaching out to my family members to kind of tell them I'm going to write a book. Don't know how I'm going to write it. I don't, at 55 years old, things have passed long enough that, they don't have the, hi, Ray. Thanks for being here. Good morning.
Or good afternoon, rather.
Well, it's still morning here in Montana. Wow. So,
wow.
But there's things that happen in our life that at first they seem like, they impact us, they make us who we are and different things like that. But, as you evolve and you change in perspectives, you realize some things had to happen in your life for you to become empathetic or to see things from a different, angle. So, there's a lot to be said with time does change your perception on things and how you look at where you're at. And this morning and what I've been focusing a lot lately is on the fact that, you get to where your word should be your bond. Your word should be, your word should be where you take a stance and say, okay, I said I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it, kind of thing. And not take it from anywhere else. And so I was at that point today where I said, there will always be a reason why not, but focus on why you should. And so that's where I'm at right now, is why you should, and not all the reasons, because man, that list of things of why we shouldn't do something is always huge, but focusing on why we should and break out of that cycle of why not to do things. Right. So things do upset you in your life, and you feel like you got to put those fires out. And I spoke to a sister of mine that I haven't spoken to in a while, and she's 5 years younger than me. And I had her blocked on Facebook. I mean, and so I talked to her yesterday, and, I just sent her a friend request today. I told her, hey, come on, be live, whatever. But I told her, if you disrespect me or you just start your shit, I'm not afraid to say I'm not putting up with that shit in my life. Right. But I love her, and I feel like everybody should have a chance in your life. But, she was one that could always trigger me. Like, I don't care if I'm 5 years older and I'm crippled up next to her, but I don't give a shit. She's one girl that she can light that switch where I'll go and beat her ass. I don't care who's around, kind of thing. So it was nice yesterday that, I didn't feel that at all. And that felt really good. But, I was trying to eat while we were talking, and my daughter's upstairs, and she's like, go get my niece and this and that. And it's like back to listen, I'm eating. Listen, she's got her own life. I said, I keep my tenants happy. I mean, like, I don't like when somebody gets in your life and they try to manipulate you to do what you want, right, what they want you to do, And I'm just so glad that I'm so over the letting it be trigger and say, you know what? It's not going to happen the way you want it to.
I don't even know why that's still an issue, though.
No, it's not even the fact the issue. It's just that's her demeanor.
But why is it even, why does it even matter? You know what I mean? Unless it's something like, there's a tendency when people bring up things that are not complete, is that in their mind they think that they're complete. But if they were complete, you would never have to talk about them again.
Right, right. And that's the thing. We all have that vicious cycle of keep going back to the old reprogramming. That's what I'm saying. But now it's just seeing the programming from a different situation of saying, you know what, that may have worked before where I would be triggered or say, okay, I'll go do that for you or whatever, to I see the programming here. The programming is you're going to emotionally try to get to my feelings so that I would comply to your demands, kind of thing.
Right.
And that is not wired in me anymore. Once upon a time it would work, the manipulation
but I still feel that your sister is trying to talk to you in a way that no longer works, but there's still an acknowledgement of it versus saying, you know what I mean? Like, this is not how we're going to communicate if we're going to communicate at all.
Right. Well, and that's just it. It's a starting point. I mean,
Okay.
it's a, this is the first time I think she's tried to reach out to me the last 2 months through my daughters, just, get a hold of her. And I just wasn't in the right place. And now I'm just in the right place where I can say, that may have worked or this or that. For the longest time, I just didn't have my voice. I like peace in the valley. I like not dealing with conflict, but I am real and raw, and I will say how I feel. Yep. But I reserve how I feel for long enough.
And what we're talking about here today is like, okay, it doesn't make any difference. I mean, given our guest that we have on Friday, we're getting a little punny with fires, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. Because of what he does for a living in training and development. So it kind of fits. But the first thing, whenever you look at a situation, it doesn't matter if it's a simple one or a complex one, if it's been going on for years, you have to acknowledge that something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not somebody else acknowledging it for you. That's you with your heart and with your brain, acknowledging that, and you might not know exactly what it is, right? You're trying to connect the intangible dots.
Yeah.
But you know that something is off. And
right.
The best thing to do is acknowledge it, not only for yourself, but then eventually, as we'll talk throughout this week, is how to do that in such a way where either it's complete either way. Like if it's a social dispute with somebody or a social upset, that you either sever ties and move past it, or where you are, you put your stake in the ground, and then you move away from each other.
Right. And that's what I'm saying is that, this can come at a better time this week because, the amends has always been an amends with her. We've always tried, and then the triggers just go. Yep. And then, I realize I have to do work because she just knows how to trigger me to a spot that, I used to have to discipline her ass if she didn't clean the house or whatever kind of thing to just all different things that are triggers.
And here's an interesting scenario right here is that if you are the one to take ownership of the experience or of the upset from your point of view, right? At least to address it or clear the air and not have it be the elephant in the room.
Right.
That is a great place to be in, but you're doing it for your own mental health. You're doing it for your own well-being, but also though for whatever might turn out in the end. And I think that in the end is what holds a lot of people back because they don't want to have it be written in concrete or whatever. That This is the way it's going to be.
Right. And that's just it. Like I realized writing this book, really, I'm coming from a place that it's truly my past. I've buried it. And talking to her was part of that. Talk of it, there's going to be a part where I do mention that, our dynamics and how our life was and whatnot. And I'm so-called putting out fire, so to speak, because I've been one by one telling my brothers and sisters that I'm doing a book. And how I'm going to do it, that's yet to be seen. But, their lives are not for me to share or for me to tell, but there's parts of it that I had something to do with.
Now, let me ask you a question. Is that why? Okay, there's two questions. Number one, why did you tell them that you're going to write a book? That's question number one. Number two is that how are they reacting? Are they reacting the way that you would think that they'd react?
One is because I like being transparent. I mean,
okay, got it.
That's just how I am. I mean,
yep.
Like, Brian, if I'm going to say something about you, I'm going to say it to you, but then you'll be sure I may share it with somebody else.
Right.
Like I'm not two-faced like that. Like if I know you suck, I know you suck.
That's true.
I'm going to tell other people you suck.
100%.
I'm transparent. So I and I'm also doing it the way, if they were writing a book, I'd like to know that they're writing a book. It's their perception, whatever, but I'm getting a good response. I'm like, we all are characters in each other's lives, but the point of sharing that was just to say, this is it, but also respecting their life and respecting the fact that I'm going to do everything I can not to feel like they have to defend themselves by my writing, and so I'm still trying to find the writing your life and writing your book and all these things. It's one thing for you to say that this is how you see it, but it's another thing that if you do, I'm not going to bring anybody's name in my book, which specific sibling or anything like that.
Sure.
It's just different scenarios in my life, and yet I felt like I would want heads up, per se. Everybody has their perception, and it's been peaceful between my brother and sisters that I've talked to so far. So that's been great. But it's just because we all don't see, we can watch the same movie, but we all can get something different out of it. Yeah. And so to me, I felt that I think it's too shady and too bullshit not to be transparent with people that siblings that I may mention, or my parents, or that kind of thing.
Well, and it's like, I don't have any brothers or sisters, but I've seen family dynamics over the years where it's like every family needs that voice, right? Yeah. Regardless if they're going to be criticized or whatever, they don't care about it because the health of the family is more important than taking the lead, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Well, I will give kudos to two of my siblings I spoke to. I haven't spoke to the one yet, but the kudos of the fact of my life was kind of twists and turns and not talking because we had things that you didn't talk about before. I mean, long story short is, when we moved from Long Island to Syracuse, I found out I had other brothers and sisters, and my mom lied and said that they were our cousins. And that had an impact in my life with my mother, and, believing her and different things and things like that, and my mom's passed and my dad's still, living. And in Long Island, I loved my mom and had great experiences with her, and things ended up, changing later. And I'm sure that perspective of all is that, we don't know what our parents go through. And yet, I was the troublemaker because I was trying to find my siblings that, my mother, and that the long story short there is, and it'll be in the book, but, my mother always felt like I was out after her, and I wasn't. I was just trying to find my other siblings that I still couldn't believe they were my siblings because I didn't grow up with them. And yet, it was just an interesting turn of events and things with my parents, and how I was the pawn of it. And I was the oldest of my dad's kids with my mom, and I had to take care of them. Feed them, I had to be the brother's keeper and discipline them and everything. And it was a lot of responsibility at a really young age. Meanwhile, I was being sexually abused. My brothers and sisters knew I was being abused, but they thought of it. They would call me hooker. Like they thought I was volunteering for the situation. Wow. I lived with a lot of shame and embarrassment and concern that my siblings were going to tell my parents something that it wasn't of my doing. I mean, just a lot of emotional torments that I went through in silence, and then I had my uncle sexually abusing me. And so there were, and I go, what's the point in telling all these stories sometimes? But the point is when you were young and you didn't know that your mind, that you weren't trapped where you were stuck, and not knowing that anybody would believe you, not knowing that anybody understood that, you didn't want what was happening to you, that kind of stuff. And so there was just a lot of silence, and I was just a shy, bashful kid anyways, but it really made me feel like I couldn't trust anybody, couldn't tell anybody anything.
Do you think that it takes a certain type of person and a certain, I don't know, it maybe edgy or kind of assertive person to actually acknowledge that there's an upset? You know what I mean? Like they're going to look at it for not only that their heart can be peaceful, right? And they can speak out. do you think that it takes a certain type of person where some it might be more natural than others, but do you think that to acknowledge that there's an issue, that it takes a certain type of person to do that?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I felt like I was an awful person because I had to spank my brother and sisters with a paddle. I felt like a terrible person because they thought I was a hooker when that wasn't what was happening. And all these different things, that finally when it all broke and I was older, I was grateful to know that my siblings, when I said to them, you don't understand what I went through, I don't know where it was with them, but they finally said to me, Lynn, we didn't see you that way and we're sorry. And we were young and we didn't know any better and we didn't know what you were going through. And all my brothers and sisters, just showed me respect and love and would tell me, Lynn, that's not how we see you. And we were young, and they apologized a long time ago. But, after I almost nearly died and had the hysterectomy and my ex-husband was trying to put me in the psych ward, I broke down saying I left New York because I had so much shame and I didn't feel like my brothers and sisters loved me. And I hated that I had to be the disciplinarian, all these different things, that I ran away from. So that, the whole thing of long story short ride, it really is, and I'm going to say it now. There's so much to talk about that this book is only going to be half of my life and half of my story of living in New York. And it's going to go further on that way because I want to do the rest of the book and the lessons, justice later. But it's just that when you grow up first having a great life and knowing good in your parents and then seeing how things tumble down, I don't know if it was a bless or a curse, but there was times because I had some good memories, I would hold on to the good memories so that I could still love my parents, because they put me through a lot of shit, from starvation to taking care of these kids and to, just a bunch of stuff, humiliation. There was one time my mom, after my paper route, my mom decided that she wasn't happy I was wearing my clothes that I bought for myself from doing paper routes. She's like, you don't wear those clothes when you're doing paper routes, in front of my 4 brothers and sisters. I mean, she had me get down to my underwears and my bra and beat the shit out of me with an extension cord. Okay. So, I mean, I've had enough humiliation in my life,
right.
And so it just, you get a lot of humiliation in your life and you don't know where you can stand and be somebody new. And that's where I felt like I had to change my name to Lynn from Eileen. I mean, I found all different ways to find my sanity. I found my way to still look at things with a brighter day, saying, these things will change someday. These things won't be a factor. You have a 6th grade teacher telling you you're not going to be shit and you're doomed and all these things. I mean, like, there's just so much that those layers, I wish, that I didn't have those layers of knowing that I wasn't dirty. I wasn't this, I wasn't that, And so that's what my wish is for everyone. But had I not known good, and had I not known some people that actually loved me and cared for me at different times in my life to know that I had value, I don't think I would have come out of it. And so that's the point of a lot of stories, is that you need to know that I can't go around explaining my brothers, sisters, or this person, if they knew I was sexually abused or this, I can't go around explaining why things happened to them. But I felt it was better never to say anything, because I could never defend myself, for the longest time. So, and it just later sharing with my spouse, what I had been through, he looked at me as damaged. He looked at me like, and that was the other sad thing, is that people think that because people have been sexually abused or went through a hard time in their life when they were younger, they feel these people are damaged forever. And that's not true. It's not true. But that's what stereotype, brings. Thank you, Ray. And hi, Tim.
Hey, Tim.
So, it's just, it's one of those things where that's why I tell people, let go of every story, let go of the fact of anybody thinks of anything, whatever they think of you, let that go. You can't live in what they know, but you got to let go with knowing who you are as a person and going on, because I do believe people can change their lives. They can change their situation. But there's always going to be those envious people, or those people that they think they know something part of the story and they don't,
Right.
that will always try to keep you down.
Yep.
And so you move away from those people. You move away from that situation, you know, like I went ahead.
You have to cut the cord.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, I went all those years, I went to all those different schools and I funneled into the same school. And nobody knew that I went to summer school on my own so I could graduate a year early. That year that my friends thought I was with them, the next year they're like, shit, where's Lynn? They didn't even know I graduated. They didn't even look in their yearbook to see I was a senior that early year, because I need to get the hell out of my life and get out of my family and all that stuff, you know. So again, you know, I always say to myself, why write a book? Why share these stories? But, you know, if everyone else realizes that your past, you can't be trapped in your past. And if any of that resonates with other people, to realize, yeah, let anybody think what they think, but they don't really know the whole story. And sometimes telling the whole story from your perspective it makes you feel better.
What they think. It shouldn't matter what they think.
No, it shouldn't. But, you know, opening the Pandora box of looking at all this and being in a really good place to look at all this, I realize that I'm glad I'm in a place now that none of that matters, and nor does it defy me, but it made me be empathetic with so many other people. I have the compassion and the empathy for them to realize I used to feel fucking trapped in a box. I didn't realize that I wasn't stuck in that place. We get in our mind where we think we're truly stuck, and we don't have to be stuck. We don't have to be stuck in anything.
Believe it or not, it's a choice to be stuck.
Well, yes, but you know, all the warped mental manipulation that I went through, I didn't realize I had a choice. And that's why it felt good yesterday with my sister when she's like, oh, you know, that's my niece. I haven't seen her, you know, tell her to come down here or go up there and this and that. And the old Lynn would be like, oh, okay, let me make her happy. And I was like, no, fuck no. She fucking pays rent. She has her own place. She's an adult. I'm an adult. I'm telling you no. I'm 5 years older than you. I mean, it just amazes me how I was catatonic too many times to talk.
Now, you haven't had many occurrences where you've actually talked to her sister, but have you laid out like how this is going to work or not going to work?
Oh, I did yesterday and I did today. And I even said to her FaceTime, I said, listen, I friend request you. I said, you can come and watch my show and that'd be great. I said, but if you open your mouth or disrespect or do anything, you're off. You're off. You know, I'm not putting up with her triggering me anymore. I'm allowing her to know that those triggers or mental manipulation, because unfortunately my mom was a great mental manipulator.
Ooh,
and
okay.
She knew how to pit us up from each other. I've learned what, you know, what that is. I mean, I was married to 2 narcissistic people too. I mean, I know what mental manipulation is. And I went through Sherry Gideon's, she did a frequency test on me, and 2 things I can't stand are people that are negative and people that are just narcissistic. And I'm like, I just don't put up with that shit. I mean, there's a part of me that's just all about love and light and loving everybody, loving even people that are nasty. But there is that point on me now that, look, don't think because I'm being kind to you that I don't realize you're manipulating me. I'm going to still kill you with kindness. I'm going to still give you love and respect, because maybe someday you'll learn how to respect other people. So yeah, you know, so that's why I love that we're putting out fires. I mean, I'm just the no nonsense anymore. I've just taken and stop Googleizing your girlfriend over there. I see what you're doing.
She went to the coffee pot.
I know. It's just so cute. I just calling it out.
She looked at the coffee pot and there was no coffee in it. And she got a little sad face.
Yeah, I know, but you gave the cute face to her, so.
I should have said the way that she looked at me. Anyhow, moving on.
So he'll make it up to her. I know he will. But anyways.
Yeah, I'll make her a pot of coffee.
Yeah. So anyways, so no, it just really does feel good to really say that, oh, that's funny. Ray said, #busted.
Yeah. There was only 2 cups in the pot anyway.
Oh, so anyhow, but no, it really is it feels really good to be able to say, you know, this stuff used to upset me. It's not going to upset me anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And
I still think though that you shouldn't have to have when you've come to a place of acknowledging the upset, you don't really have to go back in your brain, right? Like, here's where it's at right now. Like, you don't reach in your brain for years upon years of things that person did to you, right? To me, that is incomplete matters. Because if they're complete, then you don't have to keep bringing them back. Now, if they're painful, I get it, but I don't see where it's beneficial to just, when somebody, when you're acknowledging an upset or a fire, it's right here and right now.
Right.
It's not 20 years of baggage that's brought forward.
Right.
That's not acknowledging an upset. You know what I mean? Because that happened long ago, and it's like, call it where they weren't able to have a conversation or complete, or they didn't want to. Okay. But that is kind of like a piece of Velcro, right?
Yeah.
Because everything just adds on to it. How much of it is truth and how much of it is feelings? So when I look at acknowledging a fire, the here and now.
Well, the here and now always has something to do with how did you put up the fire then, and how are you going to put it out today?
Yeah, but the thing about it is you don't bring that with you. You minimize how much of that past you bring with you.
No, but there's experiences from it. I mean,
understand that, but that is not the root of the cause is unresolved feelings of the past. Because if it's here and now, we got either got a clean slate or we're bringing something into it.
True, but that's where you got to realize that, look, you've got to let go of the past and what is, like you said, what is right now, what's going on right now. But you have a rewiring system that you need to go through. And you can't go through the rewiring system by not trying to see where you are when you're reenacting a fire or reenacting a situation. I mean, put it this way. If I didn't try to communicate with her now, I may think mentally, oh, yeah, I'm fine with her, and we're just going to keep the distance and resolve it that way. Or we're going to try today, be in the right now. But know that when there's reference or a trigger that she's using manipulation, and I can call that out and say, look, this is where we are right now. You accept it. And I told her, you got to accept it. This is how it is. And she came around to say, you're right. It takes two people to work on reconnecting the wires to be here and now. Right. You've got to do that. You've got to be able to be willing to say, okay, that was then, this is now. And realize that when you have that feeling come up, why do you have that feeling? Is that from before, or is she invoking something that reminds you of a trigger, or is it because of their behavior now? And so I called out the behavior and I said, I know what you're doing. And then she's like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, no, I don't want to hear I'm right. I'm just telling you that doesn't work anymore.
Right. Well, and then it's that delicate valley and either that relatedness or not.
Right.
And it's like, whatever happened in the past, okay, it's either going to bring us forward to where we are now and it's going to look like this right in front of our eyes. Right. Or we're going to call it what it is, and we're going to be where we are. Hey, Larry, I just don't dwell on the past, right? Because it's either unresolved or if somebody knows how to get underneath your skin, it's because you haven't declared how you want to be treated. Yeah. One way or another. Right. And it's a little bit different because I don't have any brothers or sisters, but it's like, if somebody knows that they can treat you that way, guess what they're going to do? They're going to try to do that all day, every day.
Right. And, and you're talking, I would say that I hadn't really talked to my sister much after my mom passed. We were both at my mom's bedside. Okay. Yep. So we had a sister there who she's really stuck in the past. She's 7 years younger than me, and I've mentioned it before. She won't take my apologies. So be it, whatever, But we were at my mom's bedside. I don't give a shit. But my sister that's trying to get a hold of my daughters and talk to me and stuff, I still have to acknowledge that she's being a bigger person by trying to reach out to me. Absolutely. And I think it would be bullshit of me just to totally ignore her and not try to see where we're at now. And see exactly how much mentally I've rewired the situation and how much I won't put up with certain things. But I'm and Ray's right here. I'm discussing the process to get out, and the process of getting out is you don't know if you're out of a situation until you revisit. And that's why I think, just seeing the tone and the level of, hey, I'm going to write a book without even saying, and it's funny because my brothers and my sister, they haven't said, well, what are you writing about it? Or they weren't even concerned. They actually respected that, you're writing a book. So that was good too. So again, it was I'm not going to do a book and then deal with putting out the fire later type of thing. I don't want that. I want it to be where I was forthcoming. They can purchase the book. Matter of fact, my one little brother says, hey, I hope I get a signed autograph and mailed to me. I'm like, cool. Yeah, probably, but
dangle that carrot out there where it's like a maybe.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is that, and I'm not trying to put family dirt out there. What I'm trying to do is that, over time, we're talking 55 years, we're talking the story starts 50 years ago. It's just a talk of where it was. Some, I'm sticking to some facts. Some of the facts were we were left alone. I had to babysit them. We starved. My mom hid us from my dad. My dad, got a house for us. My dad was very angry and could be mean. And, he's like, I only hit you once, like trying to defend himself, but I'm like, okay, Dad, whatever. But, it just, like I said, it's just a matter of, there are certain facts and then there's different facts to the story, and the matter of, we were disciplined really hard, and, parents never know how to raise kids. We don't come with directions, and we're not all the same. And, some things are generational curses and generational things that are passed down of ignorance and not knowing how things, go. And so, it's one of those things where I tried to start writing yesterday as opposed to voice dictating it. And I was like, I know, man, I know what a writer's block is. So supposedly is like, shit. I was writing first grade shit. Like, I'm like, this writing sucks. Like, but
you're trying too hard.
Yeah. So, I've had to, but at least I put the time frame of what I'm going to do, and I put the ages and stuff. So, I'm going to have to drop it probably for a day to go back, after I've already I mind mapped everything. But I'm just like, is that important? Is this important? That kind of stuff. But putting out in fires, and upsets in our life, it's amazing how much, if you're dealing with something now, how much you do bring from the past to exasperate the situation. And it shouldn't have to be that way.
And the unfortunate part about in this, it doesn't matter what we've been through, how we, concluded it. If it's not complete with whoever it involved, all it is meaning and interpretation.
Yep.
That's the only thing you're adding to it.
Yep. Yep.
And however you perceive that person, however that you feel, because guess what? The facts and what happened is mirrored to your emotion.
Right, right.
Until it's complete, you can't separate the two.
Right, right.
Where it's just like, okay, here's what happened. Here's what I made it mean.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because that's how the human brain works, is that all of it is meaning.
Right. Well,
and it's how we feel. And here's the thing. Our brain is wants to conclude stuff. Right. Our brain doesn't want to be in limbo land.
Right.
So this could have happened years ago, but guess what? That moment in time when that happened, and then all of the recreating in your brain, that's all story you're adding to it.
Right, right.
That's how you get so far away from the actual facts.
Right, right.
Here's what happened, and that's how you might see a person a certain way, or they're this or they're that, and then that's what gives us cognitive dissonance.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's just like saying, yeah, my dad beat the shit out of me quite a few times, but then again, am I telling you the story's reasons? There may be good reasons. There may not be good reasons, right? But the fact is, I still got my ass beat, right? That's one of the things. And then the same thing goes with, we may have starved, but then again, it's probably because my mom had to take the money when we see my dad and pay bills. It wasn't probably because she wanted us to starve. I'm just... You know what I mean? There's just different ways of looking at it. We look at the generations that are out there.
my mom was one of 13. My dad was one of 7. They didn't have a lot of money. I mean, they're lucky if they got high school educations.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like, is that unique to your story? Or was it a generational thing where the abundance of training, development,
right.
Education and all of that, that was not, I mean, it might sound like, oh, wow, we didn't have a lot of food or anything like that. But it's like, when we look at the generation of when you were growing up, is that abundant? Is that everywhere?
Right.
Was that prevalent? I'm sure it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not like we look at the whole cultural time of when you were growing up, and it's like, okay, was it hard, to grow up? Sure it was, but was there a lot of people that were in the same boat? Probably.
Yeah.
So
we got the coachman. He's
coachman. When I have a fire going on, I call the Ohio police. Yeah, of course you do. Well done.
Oh my gosh. So you know what I mean? It's like there's just so many, I think just writing this, it's like, the preface is this is from the eyes of a child growing up, and and in situations like that, and it's not that I have to be kind to anyone when I'm saying this story, because it's my perception and where I was at and what I went through. But, it is the thing of, there's just so much room as to what's the rest of the story, in anything.
And I think you touched on something very important there, is that everybody has a point of view.
Yes.
And that is yours.
Right.
You are fully allowed to have your own opinion of things.
Right.
When you don't make other people wrong.
Right.
When you just share it from your point of view,
mm-hmm.
if anybody contests that or they try to knock you down, it's like, wait a minute. Yeah. I'm not challenging your point of view.
Right.
Don't challenge mine. That's all I ask.
Exactly. And that's basically what I'm saying is that, even though I tell my story, I have to tell it with
your what? Your what?
My story.
Okay.
What did I say?
Oh, I just wanted to hear it Long Island style.
Story. Oh, story. Did I say story? Okay. So so that's just it. It's the matter of respecting that I'm just seeing it from a perspective now of then and now. I will leave the facts the way they were from what I know them, and then say how I see them now, that kind of thing.
And with your dynamic with your sister, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that you had a conversation with her, you shared your point of view, acknowledging what, in the past or where it is up to now. She acknowledged it. She agreed with you. So it's like, okay, you know, is that you are there.
Right.
It's like your point of view was validated. It was shared. It was accepted. It was understood.
Right.
And it's like, that's a healthy balance right there, regardless of the past.
Right. And that's just it. I do look a lot like my mom, and my sister, she has my mom's ashes, and my sister really, my mom and my sister had a really, like, I'm going to probably encourage her to write her perception and her story sometime. But, it was a very, very struggling relationship she had with her. But at the end, she loved her mom. Like I said, I love, when my mom died, it triggered everything in my life. But it also reminded me that, at 8th grade, when she left us, my mom died to me then too. But also my mom was a great mom before my grandmother died. Mm-hmm. So I have all these different real love relationships with her. But then I have relationships where, because of my mom, my kids were abused. So there's just so many different ups and downs, to go through. But I think more than anything, in any situation, you should always take the good and allow the good be more to covet all the ugly stuff. And that's how.
I was going to get to that, where it's like you have you and you have your sister, and it's like you're sharing your point of view, she's sharing hers. That piece in the middle where you guys ultimately overlap. Right. That's what's to hold on to.
Right. Absolutely.
When you remove the past, it's like, we are what we are. We can't change the past.
Absolutely.
But where can we relate in the center?
Yep. And I'm willing to give it another chance, but I'm going to be as transparent. And I told her, I says, I will not put up with you being. And what's really cool though, is she has my youngest nephew. My sister she's 5 years younger than me, but her daughter's 5 years older than me. or 5 years older than my daughter.
Okay.
So, you know, my sister probably won't mind me saying that it was 3 days after her 14th birthday she had her first child.
Wow.
So yeah, so but so she has a 36-year-old down to a 12-year-old. She has 7 kids. And so yeah, and my youngest nephew, he's become a little rapper. And
That's cool.
he is so cute. I mean, he is really cute. I'll have to show the video, but she's just really proud of what he's done. My sister took on the behaviors of my mom as far as with 7 kids. My sister is like a military mom. They take no freaking nonsense. I mean, she whooped their ass in shape. And I mean, and I chose not to do that with my kids, but you know, that's how she felt to raise them. They're great kids. They're doing, you know, amazing things. And so I just think it's really funny because, you know, my sister, I would all call my sister my daughter sometimes because I raised them, you know, but you know, it really is something. The last time I seen my sister was when my brother died. We were at the funeral there, you know, and so like I said, it just, you know, we had some really good. My brother would call us the Puerto Rican Brady Bunch because I grew up with my brother Mark, Jules' husband. My brother Mark was part of the, you know, and then I was the oldest of my dad's kids. We got 4 kids, or there's 6 of us that grew up together. So by first grade, I had 3 brothers and then 2 sisters. So, you know, we were like the Puerto Rican Brady. We had a pool. We had police dogs, retired police dogs. We had a great time, you know, great memories to, you know, turn like shit later. So again, I had the good and the bad. Some people are born in chaos and that's all they ever know is freaking chaos.
Absolutely.
You know,
right.
And they never know what. So the blessing to me is that I saw a really good family. I mean, you know, the parties, the everything. My grandmother was high society. So we had the high society, just everything, you know, so I had all that upbringing to like then being in shit, you know? So I would see that what was possible because of that. So that was a blessing too. That's what made me survive through a bunch of stuff that I went through, you know?
Yeah. What's starting to come to mind or paint a visual just by your sharing is alignment.
Yeah.
Is that once you can honestly feel that you're together on the same team, you know what I mean? Like for preserving memories of your mom or whatever it might be moving forward, right? Is that you start with a little bit like that piece in the middle and then you build that.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden now you're turning together at the same way, looking ahead,
right?
You know, and
you know,
doesn't mean you're not going to have disagreements, but at least you're in alignment for why you should be there.
Yeah, and that's just it though. We had so much love. I mean, my brother was a musician when we were in Long Island, and he was in marching band and all this stuff, and he would sing, and music was huge in our family, and things like that. And so, you know, it really comes down to like, you know, and I'll tell you what, I mean, kudos the fact that when I'm all the way here in Montana, and I was going through the hysterectomy, and they found that I almost died, and I ended up in the psych ward and stuff like that. You know, I'm going to say this without crying, but no matter what, my mother got all my brothers and sisters to reach out to me all the way out here when they knew I had nobody. You know, they would call me, and brother, he was in Sioux Falls. He thought it was only like 10 hours or 4 hours away, 5 hours away, and ended up being 15 hours to come and check on me and my girls. But, you know, no matter what, all of them came around to just make sure that I was okay, you know, and things. So like I said, we may have grown up like little savages, but you know, we did have this bond of love, you know, that even though my mom was mentally whatever and not stable, you know, she had a lot of love, you know, and so it really is a twist and turns. That's like I said, it's a twist and turns.
As one of my mentors, you know, has a famous quote, you know, don't tell me what you can't do, tell me what you can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you take that and you apply it to families, it's like, okay, what we can't control is the stuff that is in the past.
Right.
But the stuff that we can't control is in front of us.
Yeah.
And we can do it together.
Yeah.
And you know, like how we talked about last week, were quirkiness, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has those quirks, right? Some families have a black sheep, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they're any less. It's just that everybody has their little piece of the puzzle, if you will.
Yeah.
In a family dynamic.
Yeah.
But you take the good with the bad.
Yeah. You know,
and as we get older and we experience more things, the good outweighs the bad real quick, because it's undeniable what you would do for family.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, it was hard because my two younger sisters, they, Puerto Ricans are black, white, blue eyes, dark hair, this and that. My two younger sisters look darker. They just look like they're black and not, Spanish and things like that, and so it just, it's one of those things where I've been in the middle of the generational gap of, dealing with, family members and racists, and different things, so I mean, we all have these things in life, but you got to not look at the ugly. You got to look at the good things. Right. The fact that when you have knowledge of how people are sitting there judging what they don't know and realizing that it's okay that they're ignorant. I mean, they're ignorant and they don't know any better. But, blood is blood and love is love. And I still feel that we have to keep coming back to the table in a safe, healthy way with family, and try to, if they reach out to you and that whatever, you're no better person if you don't try to reach out and try
Absolutely.
again. 100%. You are the problem too. You will be the problem if you don't resolve this. Yeah. And so again, it's one of those things. Life's too short, people, and my sister realizes that. I mean, she's 51 years old now, and we've already lost, two brothers and a mother. And, it's just a matter of when our time's up too. And where are you going to let these relationships be? And where are you going to feel when that person's gone? I've said that over and over again. I've said that you can't change nothing you don't acknowledge. And so, I think all of a sudden, say I'm going to make this book and my sister trying to reach out to me. I really think, hey, Joe Ingram's here. And from Brady Bunch, the Savage. Sounds like you're right. Like that's right. We were the Puerto Rican Brady Bunch to the Savages. Absolutely. Friday. Yeah.
If and Jerry doesn't watch our show, he'll be like, what?
Yeah. Brian Kelm's word. Yeah. So, it really, I want to thank everybody for being here and listening to some parts of this. But, I just hope that what you get out of all of this is that look back in your life at different situations that were tough. Look at what were considered the facts from your perspective, but maybe you didn't have all the facts, like I said, later in life, my mom would always bring us food and make sure we had food, but at that time we just starved. We just had fried onions for 4 days and Kool-Aid, and that's it. That was our diet.
When you lived on a farm or whatever, there any possible way that you can process a chicken was used.
Yeah. Oh yeah. In Long Island, we had chickens. We did our vegetables. We first 11 and a half years of my life, I had raised chickens, pig roasts. We had our lettuce, tomatoes. We had all our, avocados. I ate all that stuff. It wasn't until we moved to Syracuse that I had junk food. And I couldn't even eat it. Yep. So, I mean, that's, it, it really is how it's amazing how the way you grow up and the way you see it now, and the different perspectives. So, anyhow, what's your take on everything today, Brian?
Obviously with both of us putting out fires is hard. When you keep spilling gasoline, and that right there, Scott, is where, dare I say that it keeps spilling gasoline, is that's an unresolved matter of the past.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, if more that comes out of your mouth is about, and don't get me wrong, I do this too on certain matters of my life. So, let me just be straight with that. But if you keep regurgitating something as a preamble to what you want to talk about,
right,
that's usually how it shows up, where something has you so mind blocked and tense and whatever else that you give so much energy to something versus completing it. And through the course of time, it gets redirected, and it's not like this in front of your eyes anymore.
Right.
Live your truth. There is nothing in this world that that you can't overcome.
Right.
But then also though, like, look at it this way. And I've shared this on the show before, is that the first Black Friday years ago, when I was recovering from my car accident, I was watching the actual broadcast where they had national coverage of Black Friday, and people are trampling over each other to get the $49 Blockbuster special. And then there was an overhead helicopter over one of the malls right outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in Wauwatosa. And immediately my brain went to, how many of these people would rather spend money on anybody than to ever complete a matter in their life, right? Like, that doesn't cost anything to do.
Right.
But they would spend endless amounts of money on people, throw a gift at them, not talk to them, and then just move on their merry way. And to me, the elephant in the room is going to be there as long as you want it to be.
Yeah.
But the problem in the opportunity is that elephant doesn't get smaller.
Right.
The more you choose to not acknowledge it, the bigger it gets.
Right. And you're right.
And it paralyzes you. It does.
Yeah. And like I said, the fact that I put my foot in my mouth for writing a book and then talking to my siblings and this and that, I'm focusing on why I should do this, because these are chapters that are done. And as I'm reflecting back, I'm like, wow, they don't have any power on me anymore. It is what it was. I've removed myself from those stories. And so then I say, okay, so why share them as an excuse as to why not to share them.
Correct.
And I'm like,
yep.
No, I'm going to lay the foundation of where that went. I'm going to just finish it to a certain point. I was going to try to complete a whole huge book in that amount of time. I said, screw that. It can be this part, and it can be the foundation of where it went and where it all turned. And so it's a great start. I'm not going to use the excuse of, well, I did this really fast and this is why this. No, I'm going to give my heart to where I'm at now. It won't be a completed version, but it will give everybody a good start of where I was and where you can just imagine all the different stuff.
Well, just remember, Lynn, life isn't linear.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you write this book now, and then you write another one.
Yeah.
It's a continuation. Maybe you do a couple, like, here's a collection of stories, and then here's the full-length version.
Yeah.
Life is not linear. I mean, the only things in life that are linear is you're born and you die. That's
right.
it.
Right.
Everything there in between is either for your creation or not.
Right. So go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, so all I was going to say is I found myself a lot of times of the different roadblocks and reasons why I shouldn't, or why I can't complete this in this time. But I spoke to an editor that Jerry suggested, which was great. And the point was like, no, I'm going to give myself permission for this, and that, and then leave it from there. But like you said, I'm not going to focus on the reasons why not. I got to focus on the reasons why. And the reasons why are to, lay them down, to share it, and, let it be something that would stir in readers to say, I need to go back in my memory and think of this, and it's a little bit different than what I expected, or what it meant to me then and what it means to me now, And like I said, when I talked to Scott the other day, it's nice to know that Scott's just a sliver of the remembrance of, how you can be connected to somebody and not, all these years he and I didn't talk. And yet, we have some solace in knowing that we're being two good friends that are finally able to say, this is his life, this is my life, and seeing where we're at and being in a really good, healthy place to look at it for where it's at, where it is now, Oh, he says he's blushing, but but truly, it's nice to show the whole full circle, how things that are meant to be full circle will be full circle, and that you can see the bigger picture. And for those that are going through tough times, you don't know why you're going through those tough times, but let me tell you, someday you will. Someday you'll be able to see it in your rearview mirror and be peace with it. And that's a part of life, is learning your lessons and going from there. So I have a lot of awesome chapters going forward, and a lot of chapters to look back one time with a new pair of eyes. So
one last thing before we send everybody off. Thank you to all of our loyal followers, listeners, everybody. This show is nothing without you guys. So thank you for tuning in on this Monday for a new week. And anybody catching the replay, we're on and grateful you're with us. My final thought on this for acknowledging the fire, the upset, is do it for you. Don't do it for anybody else. Don't look for any validation. Don't do any of that. Do it for you and only you, right? Don't look for kudos. Don't look for a pat on the back. Trust your heart. Go with your gut and do it for you. That's it.
Brian, I love that. I couldn't have put it any better. That's what I love is you and I have been evolving since we started the show together. And it's been such a great journey for how we are evolving and how, you know, just for as well as all our audience that's still here with us, you know, they're on this journey with us. And how freaking cool is it? In January, we didn't know we were both going to be writing books. We didn't know that we would be, I mean, it's just fantastic. And
I didn't know Lynn drank vodka until January. So it's
no, it's a pinnacle moment for me to say that because whatever. Anyways, we've got to go. It's just been it's been super great. Thank you for being on this journey with us, you guys.
absolutely.
That
We appreciate you all. We appreciate
yes,
you
we
all.
do. So we will see you guys tomorrow.
Day
Bye.
number 2.
Bye.